Well, dudes, technically the transmission is in here, and I actually got it mated together with the motor, but there is the bottom bolt on the starter that won't go in all the way. Acts like it's going to snap if you try to tighten it down more, so that won't go in all the way. There's one of those bolts down here that broke off in the motor, so I can't get that out. And then there's another bolt hole that's not lining up. So with those three variables, the car is actually going to turn in concepts. That's just the way it is. I could probably get it out of here. You know, I could probably take the transmission out myself and try to realign it. But at this point, I just want them to make sure it goes in correctly. Just because they're going to have the experience with it. I'm inexperienced as how to get it in there properly and what to look for as far as the transmission being in complete working order, and everything that goes with it. So just for peace of mind, I'm going to have Turning Concept do it. I just not really available to work on it over the weekends and get it back together. I just don't have that time. So they're going to go ahead and they're going to help me with that. Unfortunately, that's the way it is. That's the status. But as it sits now, the STI transmission's in, the rear differential's in with the axles back there. We just put on the front wheels. There are no axles. So there's still quite a bit of work to do. They're going to actually go and they'll take out the transmission. They're going to once over it, and they're going to look at the transmission and, you know, make sure it's in working order. So right there, I'll have peace of mind putting it into the car that everything's working. I'm not saying that it isn't, but at least it'll be some peace of mind. Also, at the same time, I think I'm going to pick up a new starter. Chris and I talked about that a little more in depth, and, you know, it's just one of those pieces that has got normal wear and tear on it, so it just makes sense while I'm in there to go ahead and get that replaced. So I'll talk to Turning Concepts and probably try to get a new starter for it. Two additional things I didn't mention for the parts. What I have here is the iWire kit. They make this. You can look it up on their site. I think you just type in iWire. I can throw a link to the company down in the description. But yeah, so this is the DCC D Pro right here, and it'll take the STI harness and connect it to the WRX engine harness, if that's what you want to call it. But anyway, it makes sure those interconnect. There are a few lines that you do have to tap yourself. I haven't looked into it too much just because I haven't gotten to that process of it, but Turn-In is going to go ahead and they'll put this in. And then what I had iWire do is I actually called them up and I talked to them on the phone, and they were really helpful. But I got the center diff controller. This is a manual controller. They have actually two DCC. They have a Spider DCC, which is like fully automated, and it has a lot more adjustability. So this one, it just kind of like plug and play. You put it in there. Really don't have any functionality or adjustability, but I went ahead and had them make this center diff, you know, so I could have a little bit of fun if I take this thing out in the snow. We'll see how that works. Not like completely thorough on how it works, but it's going to be something fun to play with. So yeah, pick this up. This is definitely a necessary thing to have. If you don't have this and you splice the connectors end to end, you still don't have a controller for your transmission, and according to iWire, that could cause more wear and tear on the transmission. So it's really a good idea to get this, and if you're all the way into this swap, you probably just want to spend the extra money and do it right. Get the iWire or some kind of DCC-D controller. So that's from iWire, and that'll be going into the car. So that'll be fun. That'll be something a little cool to play with. And then down the road, I was actually speaking with iWire, and I might step up and get the Spider. Since I have the Process West verticooler, I read on Nausea, it's very helpful if you guys are doing trying to look at this transmission swap, go check out that link in the forum, and I'll put some links in the description. So this is the Process West verticooler mount for the CVT. And actually this one they're saying mounts better to the STI transmission up here. Still does require a little bit of finagling. You might have some issues with spacing and this bracket that goes to the pitch stop bracket. So it was recommended pick up this, and I don't know, we'll see how that works. But that is the status of the car. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to install everything myself, but it's just the way it goes. And you can see here, we've got the shifter assembly all taken apart. So I just left this apart for them, just for simplicity. That way they can go and throw everything together. Got the shift boot. This is a good piece right here to get the shift boot to keep down the transmission noise. And it's not a requirement, but it's definitely nice to have this boot and insulator. It's real cheap. So if you can get it, pick it up, you're going to cut down on some of that NVH that you hear in the cabin from the transmission. So that needs to go in. There are some additional parts with it. Just these little plastic tabs right here. So I think you need about 2 of those or 4, something like that, but I've got all those. And I've just got all the shifter linkage right here. This has got the Cartboy short throw shift on it, all ready to go in. And we got the bushings for it. So it's going to stiffen that up. And this thing should feel really nice. I'm really looking forward to it. It's just kind of a relief at this point to have Turning Concepts do the work on it, because I know it will be done right. I won't have to worry about damaging the clutch, which is a big concern, because if I damage that thing, I'm out quite a bit of money if I have to buy another one and then additionally have them do the transmission work anyway. So we are just biting the bullet on this one. Unfortunately, if I was able to do the transmission swap again, I'd go about it a little differently, and it might go together better. But at least this route, it's going to be peace of mind. It'll go together well, and I'll just be able to enjoy it a lot faster than doing it myself. Just unfortunately, it didn't go together the way I thought it would. And that's the way it goes. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, but I think right now it's just about time. I don't really have the time to work on it like I want to, but that's the way it goes.